Hi, welcome to League Lobster. In this video, we'll quickly go over the basics of creating a league schedule. So the first step here is just to enter your number of teams. That's pretty straightforward. And then your number of games and weeks. So you can see down here, you want to count the total number per team over the course of the season. And then don't count off weeks. So if you have a week off for Christmas, you'll still want to enter 7 games in 7 weeks there and just add an off week later on. So here we have our initial schedule. You can see that it's just going to give you default times there. Everything is at 7 p.m. on Sunday. So in some cases this might not make any sense because the same team may be scheduled twice at the same time. So don't be concerned with that. That's literally just a placeholder, so to speak. What you want to do is go through the buttons on the right hand side here, one by one, top to bottom, and you will basically arrive at your schedule more or less automatically. So first button here is just the game duration. We'll keep that at 60 minutes. Our venues, so you can see I already have 4 courts in here. So each court or board or field or whatever you want to call it in your sport is going to be a separate venue for the purposes of our scheduler. Next up is the dates. So again, here's where you would enter your off weeks. So if I want to insert a break here, I can do that just so. If I hit this refresh games button, you can then see that off week is inserted there. I can also go in and just undo that and hit refresh again and it's gone. Here's also where you can change the start date of your season. If it's close enough and you just need to move it by a week, you can just move week 1 down and that's pretty much it. It's just going to move everything. If it's a little further away, you might want to do it differently by clicking the first date on the schedule and moving that. So if I go in here and let's say we only start in March, I can go in there and it'll ask me if I want to change the start date and shift all weeks. So if I say yes there, now that's a lot faster than having to click multiple times in the dates dialog there. So next up, you'll want to enter your time slots. That's where you actually get your games to the specific weekday and times. So if I go in here and select my, let's just say we have those 2 courts and we play on Tuesdays from, let's say, 6:15. So you're not restricted to the times. It gives you in the drop down, you can go back and change the actual minutes there. What you can also do is, if you're not so comfortable with the 24-hour time denomination, you can actually type in 6:15 p.m. and it'll convert it for you. And then let's say we have 2 hours. So once that is done, you can see now that our games are allocated to court 1 and 2 on Tuesdays at 6:15 and 7:15. If you want to customize this, you can just grab a game by the V in the middle and drop it onto another game, and they'll swap places. And likewise, you can grab a team and drop it onto another team, and they'll swap places as well. Now, since we had a perfectly balanced schedule where every team was playing each other once, we've now created this imbalance. So you see that highlighted here. These teams are now playing each other twice. We'll just go in and undo that. You can also click on the court or venue and select a different one from the drop down. You can also click on a time for a game and change the date and time for that specific game. And then you also have a edit game button over here where you can go in and change everything about that game, essentially. This friendly checkbox, that's going to exclude the game from the standing. So another word for that might be scrimmage. Only check that if you really want to exclude that game from the standings. And then next up, we have our team name. This is where you can go in and actually put in the right names for your teams. Next would be league name. Here you can change the name of your organization. You can also click down here and upload a logo and pick a color scheme that is going to be reflected on your public schedule page that people see. So you can make that look a little more branded, and then enter a name for your league and your season. Sport. If you read all this here, the sport basically determines how your standings are calculated. So that's really the main thing. We're going to come up with an update fairly soon for that, so I won't go too deep. And then referees, you can enter names of referees that you can then assign. Add a game here, that lets you manually add a game to the schedule, as the name would suggest. And lastly, the schedule checker is helpful to just make sure everything looks right. So you can see here, this shows you how many times each team plays against each other team. You can also break that down into home and away. So that should all be balanced out of the box, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But if you made customizations, you might want to check that. And then you also see a distribution of venues and start times. So you can see it's a little unbalanced there. If you care about the distribution and you want that to be more even, our Pro scheduler actually balances that. So you might want to consider upgrading to Pro if that's important to you. Otherwise, you could also go in and manually customize this. Pro is available down here, that green button. You can read a little bit more about what's available there. Probably one of the biggest features is playoff brackets. So if you want to add playoffs at the end of your season, you can do that there. You can also have multiple divisions on the same schedule, so different age groups. If you need to distribute times that are shared between those different age groups, then Pro is probably the way to go. If they're more or less separate, one age group plays Mondays and another age group plays Tuesdays, then it's probably easier actually to stay in the LITE version or just keep them on separate schedules. And then scheduling constraints is another big one. So you can actually program certain rules about your schedule, how many games each team should play in a day, or whether there can be back-to-back games. You can assign home venues to teams, so if that's a factor in your league. You can see there's a bunch of other stuff. It's free to try, so you can just go in there and play with it. It would only ask for payment once you're ready to publish the schedule. If you're interested in more on that, I'll also link our Pro video up here so you can see a little bit about that. For now, let's just close this again. And as a last step, when you're happy with your schedule and you want to send that out to your teams, you'll just want to hit publish down here. It'll ask you which tier you want to go with. We'll just go with the free version for now. And it'll give you that link right here that you can then share with your teams. You can also click the share button up here in the navigation, and it's all there again for you. So you can see your various options for sharing the schedule with your teams. If you want to get a better idea of what they're going to be seeing, that's basically the public schedule tab over here. So since you're logged in as an admin, you'll see a little bit more than they will see. If you really want to get a true view of what your customers will see, you might want to log out or just view it in an incognito browser window. But more or less, this is what your users would see. And you can already see here, you'll now have a save scores button instead of the publish button. Once these games have happened, so starting the day off or before each game is scheduled, you'll see score input boxes, and then you can just enter the scores right there, save scores, and it'll update the standings right there. So that's more or less all you need to know to get started. If you have any other questions, feel free to browse our help center up here, or just click this chat button and send us your questions, and we'll be happy to answer those. I'll leave you at that. Have fun exploring, and I hope you enjoy our scheduler. Thanks for watching.